good to be alive. Good to be alive. Yeah, it's good to be alive. And we all want to see you thrive. Hang on for the ride. This is Paul Vibes, bringing you a spiritual flow and information that can remedy the soul. A man for the people, message in a bottle, but he threw it in a podcast. Now it's full throttle. Life is never hollow, but if you ever feel twisted or need to be lifted, yo, my man is gifted.
Good. Hey y'all.
I'm here with Gordon Gooding, Paul Vibes here, taking a beautiful stroll.
I need a thing. You got a thing.
The mic?
You got like a symbol. I don't have a.
No, I don't own the symbol. You can use it too. Just tag me.
It's yours. It's all Paul's thing now, you know?
Paul Vibes. We're here at Heckscher Park in Huntington, and we've been talking about a lot of really important topics that relate to our lives.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And I think we were talking about the subject of being vulnerable, and I think that is something that's very relatable. I think it's very relevant to the world that we live in today.
I think we're all very vulnerable today. I mean, no matter where we go, we got the masks, and we're vulnerable in so many ways, physically, emotionally, and spiritually, and it's a great topic I love.
Yeah, it's important. I think that having that realization that it's okay to seek help, it's okay to find mentors, professionals, some paid, some not, just being around friends and people that you feel like you can talk about these important issues.
I think the biggest myth, at least for myself, is that, especially as a mental health provider, is that even mental health people or people who are helpers can't ask for help.
Yes.
I love the idea of how do helpers ask for help?
How do they?
They very humbly.
Yeah.
And usually resistant, because I know for myself, I'm so used to helping people and being there for people, and just like everybody else, man.
Well, tell me if you've had this. Have you had this in your field? And I think that's part of it, is people who maybe see you struggling or me struggling, where they go, what, you feel that way too? Or wait, but you're Paul Vibes, you're this. And I have to literally remind people, like, guess what? I got two arms, two legs.
Besides being Paul Vibes, I happen to have a heart and a brain and a human being just like the rest of us, right?
Yes. Yeah, and then it's important though for us when we do share about how we feel, for people to be open and accepting and to listen too. They can't have this assumption that, oh, you got your own center that helps people. You must be beyond, you don't need any help.
Just talk to my wife. That's all I'll say.
She's watching right now.
Yeah, she's out there. Kim Gooding. Just ask her. Just see how together Gooding has it. But we all need to have somebody. Like I have my wife. I have a couple of key people that when I'm jammed up, I'm on the phone with them. I'm going to the park with them. We're going to get coffee together. And that's we all need support.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's really more professional in terms of counseling, which even us counselors need. But sometimes it's just someone to talk to and just connect with. And that's what I love about your show. It's about connection.
Yes.
That's the most healing property as human beings, is when you connect with somebody, it does amazing things.
Absolutely. And one of the cool things I'm finding out of my life now is the surprising places that you will find these people, these connections, these support groups that you normally wouldn't find, right? So there's the obvious typical ones that people know of. There's different support groups. There's counseling, which is very important. And I think I believe in therapy as someone that's going to school for social work. I also have a social worker.
Mm-hmm.
But you'll find connections and people in your lives that aren't therapists, that aren't spiritual teachers, that are just human beings that are good listeners.
Yeah, I was going to say, I have a couple of guys that I lean on. One's an accountant, one's a lawyer. There's a couple of guys out there that just, they're awesome. Not therapists. And a couple of people I really do rely on that are actually in my therapy.
They should be therapists, maybe. Maybe
they should be. Well, they're like my therapist. Maybe I should be paying them more or whatever. But they're friends that just, I can always, there's a jam, and I'm sure you got people like that. If something's up, call them on the way to work saying, listen, you know what my head's telling me today? This is what my head's telling me. And they're like, yeah, I've been there too. It's all this nonsense that sometimes rattles around in our head.
Yeah.
It really comes in the shape of anxiety and depression and overthinking.
Yes.
The human condition, if you're nothing unique about us, that's really what it is.
I give talks and I share, the challenges I've been through, but I say to my viewers on my podcast, listen, you may not have gone through the challenges I've gone through, that Goran's gone through, but But if you're a human being, which most human beings I think are watching this, I don't think anybody else watching this, any other living beings that aren't human. But the thing is, if you're alive on this planet, you're going to experience challenges. You're going to experience loss, grief, suffering.
That is the human experience.
Yes.
It's supposed to be. Without that, you need the lows to experience the highs. That's all part of the process of life. It's never just, a flat line.
You tell me things aren't going to be perfect at some point in my life? There's be no problem?
Well, I could tell you the day. You want to know the date?
What's the day?
I'll text it to you later. There's that day. But so make sure you're paying attention that day,
Yeah. Every day you got to pay attention. But one thing I'm going to ask you as a professional, like, besides seeking help, seeking resources, mentors, therapists, what are some other ways, and you shared with me some of the ways, but just on camera now, what are other ways that people can feel connected? One thing I want to start off sharing is the importance of volunteer work, helping people. Now, even during COVID, there are many ways that you can help other people. It could be just reaching out to someone who's been a little quiet on social media that you haven't connected with. They might need someone to connect with, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
There's so many ways to be of service in this world besides going and volunteering in person.
Well, I always say when I make things less about me, more about others, spiritually and emotionally, I always feel better, right? When I get caught up in Gordon, I could be very overwhelmed with it, When I'm reaching out to somebody else and helping, or getting involved in my kids' schools and their things they're doing, or paying attention to my wife and what she's like, or my friends, or like the nice talk we had before, what you're doing with your school, like that's really what that gets us out of ourselves. And there's a lot of brain research, not to be totally nerd out on you, but there's a lot of brain research that shows that altruism and that reaching out to others really helps release those dopamine, those feel-good chemicals in our brains, which promotes wellness. So it's a scientific thing as well as a spiritual and emotional thing.
Absolutely. And I don't mean to put you on the spot here, but I gotta say, as someone who's a young individual in the field of social work in this society, having a mentor, having a friend like you, somebody that I can call up and not just speak professionally, but just speak as friends, is such an important part of my development and well-being. And I remember meeting you at a workshop, and a lot of these type of environments can be very stifling, very jaded. You always feel like you're doing the wrong thing. You're always walking at eggshells. But your approach, it really has, you're just very approachable. You're very open. You're very real. When other people go up to you compared to me, you're the same person for everybody. You don't change your attitude depending on, you're just you. And and I gotta say, don't let it get to your ego, to your head too much, but I gotta say, when I connect with people like yourself who's vulnerable and the way you are, it really shows me the type of social worker that I want to be eventually. So I really appreciate that.
Call my wife and tell her how awesome I am.
She's watching right now.
Kim, did you hear that?
He didn't pay me yet for that.
The one rule, there's a rule or a joking rule in recovery, which is called Rule 62. You know what Rule 62
Tell me.
Rule 62 is don't take yourself too damn seriously.
Yes.
So no matter where you go in life, we're going to be human. We're going to screw up. We're going to have fun. We're going to be vulnerable. There's going to things I can do great. And there's things I can't do. And there's times I'm okay, and there's times I need to reach out for help. That's what I love about Rule 62. It's like it's just not always about me. To be open.
Yes. And you're really good at that, and that's something I really appreciate in you, and something I've experienced firsthand. One of the things you mentioned before, and I want to talk about on the camera, is the importance of meditation, because a lot of people they're not vulnerable, they're not open to meditation because they don't have the time, they don't think they can do it, they think that they need to be this monk on a mountaintop, which is not the reality.
The false narrative of what, people think meditation is clearing the mind. The mind doesn't get clear, the mind is jumping from topic to topic and thought to thought. That's what the mind does. The mind thinks. Meditation's really like, how do we pay attention to that and not get so attached to that and not go down that
rabbit hole,
those negative thoughts. Just like, wow, look at my, I always say, like, in my head when I do meditation, it's almost like watching a movie. Like, what does my brain tell me today? No, my brain's telling me things are great. My brain's telling me things are horrible. It doesn't necessarily based in reality. It's just, what am I thinking? And how do we kind of separate ourselves and watch it, in terms of, look where my thinking is at today. Like, wow, I'm negative, or I'm anxious, or I'm insecure, or
So
I'm
the first step
vulnerable.
is to be aware, you're saying, is to be
Yeah.
aware. And what's cool, and one of the things I gotta say, the important things about meditation is especially when you start, is to not be hard on yourself, because sometimes when people start meditation, they become aware of how much they're not in the present moment. And that's part of being present, you know?
Well, that's
and
the first track. I think,
Yes.
Is that, John Kabat-Zinn, who's like the grandfather of the whole mindfulness movement, talks about with non-judgment. Can we watch our thoughts and watch our experience without judging it, without saying, "Oh my God,
Good or
I can't,
bad,
I can't do it right because I'm thinking," or all that criticalness is what we're so good at as human beings. I know
We're
how to
great
be
at it.
critical. I'm not so
You're
good
a
at being
pro. We're pros
positive.
at it.
Yeah, I got that down. So it's, can we try to look at our thoughts without the judgment and with a little more compassion for ourselves and for a fellow man? I always say, can I treat myself as I would Paul or anybody else out there? Some days I can, and some days I'm awfully hard on myself. Oh, baby.
There's this, it's funny, as you pet that dog and you're looking at the duck before, there's a chapter in a book from, I don't know if you've heard of Jordan Peterson, Rules for, he's a psychologist from Canada, and he talks about when you see a stray cat, pet it, and with that, or dog, but what he means by that is sometimes in life you can't project yourself to the weekend, to next week. You have to live day by day depending on the challenges you're dealing with, because life hits you with some things where you have to focus day by day, sometimes not even day by day, you got to focus hour by hour, and yes, and focus in on the little things. Because if you were too much in your head right there, you may not have been interested in petting that dog or looking at that duck before or meeting me for coffee. And what's crazy is when you start really narrowing your time frame, life is a little bit easier to digest. You're not focused on tomorrow, you're focused on today.
Well,
and that's hard in our society sometimes.
Oh, our society is always about what's next.
I think dogs are drawn to you.
I am a sucker for dogs. That's what I think. Yeah, come here, baby.
Come on, Bentley.
Oh, he's a puppy too.
Yeah.
Boy. Hold on. What we got here? Can he have a cookie?
Yeah.
Look at this. Here you go, buddy.
Bentley,
Here you go. You want a quick treat?
that's nice that you carry dog treats.
Oh, I'm a dog sucker.
Stace. Very nice of
I
you.
like your shirt.
Thank you.
Cool.
Thank you.
Take care.
Stace,
Thank you.
this nice young man, they gave him a treat. He's a dog sucker.
You got to be prepared all the time. You never know when a dog's going to show up.
Thank you so much. Have a great
I get
day.
a little distracted by dogs. Did I tell
I
you
can
that?
tell.
You can tell? I got a little,
It's a good thing.
I can be all about this, but if a dog comes by, I'm
They-
going to
they
totally
got
bail on
distracted by
Paul
you.
vibe.
They
Yeah.
liked you. Dogs like you.
Listen, it's the treats to carry. We got to carry the treats in your
You
pocket.
know, exactly. But you know what? I just want to share, like, when you have that energy where even animals or humans, they feel like they can approach you, that is such an important quality to have. To have that, like, talk about being
Well,
vulnerable.
it's being open. Rule 62, not taking yourself so seriously. I mean, because we're all having that human experience. The thing I liked, we were talking before about that, but the mindfulness is like, which reminds me of just like that. It's just, we as human beings are always looking for this next thing to make us
Big
happy.
thing to happen.
Yeah,
Right?
I want this, bolt to come out of the sky and
I see a
show
boat
me
right
how
there,
happy-
actually. So
yeah. And but there's a great chapter in one of John Kabat-Zinn's books, which is called. It says, "This is it." And it's like, we keep looking for this moment, this thing that's going to happen to us. That's going to everything's going to make sense. We're really, this is it. This is the moment we like right now. Like, is there anything better than two guys walking around a park, hanging out with dogs? It's a little better on dogs here.
you got ducks, you got water, you got everything.
But like, this is the moment we've been waiting for, as opposed to waiting for these big things. Why not just look at wow, this is it. We're in it right now. It's like, and I love that.
These are the moments that make life worth living.
Yes.
And when you have that realization, every little thing becomes a big thing. This is saying too, I think you've probably heard of it, it's the little things that make up the big things.
Absolutely.
And yes, there's big things that happen, graduations, marriages, they're all great things. But all the little things before that are just as important, if not often bigger, because these little moments are what make up your day.
To make it all up, yeah.
That cup of coffee in the morning, that little meditation when you wake up, that shower.
That smile, that little moment. Listen, my daughter just graduated high school. We had all the ceremonies, but I remember this one picture we took of her, and she was just glowing. Like that, I remember. Like that. I have all that,
That's the moment.
That's the moment. I'm like,
Wasn't the piece of
that was
paper,
it.
it wasn't the
piece of
ceremony,
paper,
it
it wasn't
was-
the ceremony, it wasn't, you know, all the other nonsense we, you know,
Wow.
but it was like that one smile that she had on at that moment was like, that was worth, you know, like
Yeah.
that's it. You know, so I love, you know, that's what I love about photography too. But that's like, how do you capture that moment in your life? You know?
Yeah. And even so as you guys saw in the video, we were having our conversation. We're talking about the importance of being in the now, right? And shortening your time, right, in your life that you're focusing on. And then what do? We get distracted by a dog. But it was a good distraction. You were in the moment. You were playing with this
Great.
dog. And then we ended up having like a 5-minute, 10-minute conversation
Really interesting
with
folks.
this amazing family. And
I was
that's
just talking about something we were just talking about 2 minutes ago at the meditation center and everything, you know, so.
it was very
Very-
synchronistic.
yeah.
And it was exactly, you know, we weren't rushing. We weren't upset about it. You know, I paused the video and then we just continued. And it wasn't, we weren't resisting
It's
it.
just about being open. Once you're open to it, then, you know, different things can happen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So as we close up this video, I want to just see if there's anything. I also just want you to close by, you know, sharing just, you know, this idea of speaking to mentors and, you know, therapists and getting help, being vulnerable. I want to also make sure we share just a little brief thing about your center and how you've been adapting to what's going on in the world and offering people,
Yeah, I
you
mean,
know, help.
I will say, you know, before I even get into my center, I'll just say, I think we, in terms of that vulnerability,
Yes.
to put a button on it, you know, we all need somebody.
Absolutely.
And we all need probably more than one person, you know, and I think sometimes that's our spouse, sometimes we don't have a spouse, it might be a friend, sometimes we don't have a friend, it might be a therapist, sometimes it might be a combination of all those different things. So, you know, especially right now with our anxiety and the unpredictability of our
Right,
whole
yes.
world right now is like, you know, we don't know if we're all gonna be back locked in our houses in 2 weeks, you know, so having that network and that connection, you know, it's huge. You know, we have to be able to connect with people. So
Yes, community is an important part.
let me just move out there
Yeah.
for this woman. And so you know, and as far as us, we know we have this. You know us. We're Gooding Wellness. We have a group of great clinicians down in Cold Spring Harbor. Right now, we're offering. We have online therapy. We still have some space in the office where we're seeing clients face to face, but we have socially distanced and we have all these social safety protocols for the time being.
Nice.
So, you know, there's so many people reaching out for help and struggling because of isolation and loneliness. You know, and even more so that unpredictability of what's going to happen next. You know, so, you know, I encourage everybody to try to find some way to connect with somebody. Could be a therapist, could be a friend, could be, you know, a mentor, could be anything. We all have to find a way to connect. And you know, being vulnerable is like the scariest thing in the world, but that's where all the growth happens.
That's where growth happens.
All, you know, it's so much good happens with vulnerability.
I agree.
You know.
And I just want to say that, you know, I will include the link to your center in the description of the video.
Yeah.
And, you know, as you know, my podcast, you've been in my podcast, you've been in my videos.
Absolutely.
That, you know, my podcast, my talks, I really do.
Oh, you connect people.
Yeah, I try.
That's what's so good about your podcast.
Thank
is
you.
bring people together like to connect and have these kind of, you know, we have the same conversation off camera as we're doing on the
Yes.
camera, you know, which is what we love. We all need to have people we can lean on and have those connections with.
Absolutely. And I want to say, anybody watching this want to connect to either of us, they want to learn more about either the things that we both do, and also if you want to hear different topics that, you know, Gordon and I can have a dialogue and people from the center, please let us know, because, you know, we plan on doing more videos together and talking about important subjects, but we want you to be involved. So if you're watching and you want us to touch on certain subjects, please reach out. And as always, we're sending you lots of good vibes, lots of good energy. Stay safe, stay healthy.
Stay vulnerable.
Stay vulnerable. Beautiful.
Yeah, it's good to be alive, and we all want to see you thrive. Hang on for the ride. This is Paul Vibes.